slowly slipping away from you? That's exactly how I felt about my wife, Eva. For months, something wasn't right. At first, I thought it was just me overthinking things. Maybe it was stress from work or life getting in the way. But deep down, I knew it was more than that. Eva wasn't the same anymore. The connection we used to share, the little things that made us us, was fading away, and I couldn't figure out why. Eva started coming home late almost every night. She said it was because of work, that her boss needed her to stay late to finish big projects. I wanted to believe her. She's always been ambitious, and I've supported her career from the start. But it wasn't just the late nights. She seemed glued to her phone, texting constantly, even when we were supposed to be spending time together. When I asked her about it, she'd say it was just work stuff and brush me off. Then came the business trips. She started traveling more often, saying these trips were crucial for her career growth. The Eva I knew wouldn't shut me out like this. She'd always been open with me about her life, but now it felt like she was building walls I couldn't climb. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, so I tried talking to her. I told her I missed her, that I felt like we weren't connecting the way we used to. Her response? "You're overthinking it. Work is just busy right now. Once things settle down, everything will go back to normal." Her words didn't comfort me. If anything, they made me feel worse. She said it so casually, like my feelings didn't matter. It was like talking to a stranger, not the woman I'd been married to for years. I felt invisible, like I was the only one trying to hold our marriage together. And the more I tried to reach her, the further away she seemed to drift. One evening, while tidying up the bedroom, Eva's phone caught my eye. She had left it on the nightstand as she showered. Normally, I'd never touch her phone. We always trusted each other, but things hadn't been right between us for months. The distance, the excuses, it all felt wrong. My curiosity got the better of me to investigate. I picked up the phone and I unlocked it. First, I checked her text messages. They were casual, nothing unusual. Next, Instagram and email, still nothing out of the ordinary. I started to feel both relief and doubt, thinking maybe I was just imagining things. Then I opened her photo gallery. My breath caught in my throat. There it was, a series of close-up selfies of Eva with Adam, her boss. The setting was unmistakably a hotel room. In one picture, they were smiling while lying down on the bed. In another, his arm was wrapped around her as she takes the shot. My chest tightened as I scrolled through the images. The woman I loved, the one I trusted completely, had been unfaithful. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the phone, my mind replaying every moment from the last few months, trying to make sense of it all. This was real. There was no denying she has been cheating on me. Later, as Eva came out of the shower, humming softly while drying her hair, I sat in the bedroom, still holding her phone. The photos were open on the screen. My hands felt clammy, but I knew I had to confront her. "Eva," I said, my voice low but firm. "What are these?" I held up the phone, the screen facing her. She stopped mid-step, her normal expression vanishing. Her eyes widened as she looked at the screen. For a moment, she said nothing, just stared at the photos. Then, her expression hardened. "Why were you looking through my phone?" she asked, her tone defensive. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "That's what you care about?" I shot back. "Not the fact that you've been sneaking around with Adam? Just tell me the truth, Eva. What is this?" She crossed her arms, her jaw tightening. "It's not what it looks like," she said. "Those pictures don't mean anything. It was a work trip and we shared a hotel room due to space. That's all." "Work trip?" I repeated, my voice rising. "You expect me to believe these are just work photos? Stop lying to me." Her face flushed with anger. "Fine," she snapped. "Yes, we've gotten close. But can you blame me? You've been so distant. I've felt so alone." Her words hit me like a slap. "Distant?" I said, my voice trembling. "I've been here, Eva. I've been trying to fix things, trying to talk to you. You're the one who's been pulling away. We went back and forth. the argument spiraling out of control. She blamed me, claiming she felt neglected. I called her out for her excuses, refusing to let her shift the blame. Every word felt like a fresh wound, cutting deeper than the last. By the end of the night, we weren't yelling anymore. We just sat there in heavy silence, the weight of everything pressing down on us. For the next few days, we barely spoke. The gap between us felt insurmountable, and I didn't know if we'd ever find a way back. Few days later, I was sitting in the living room, trying to focus on a book, when the doorbell rang. Eva was on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She barely looked up. I sighed and got up to answer it. When I opened the door, my stomach dropped. Adam was standing there, his face smug like he had every right to be there. Before I could say anything, he stepped inside. "Adam?" Eva's voice came from behind me. She sounded surprised, almost nervous. "I came to talk," Adam said, ignoring me completely and looking straight at her. "We need to sort this out." I shut the door and turned to face him. "What do you think you're doing here?" I said, trying to keep my voice steady. He shrugged and smiled. "I'm here for Eva," he said. "She deserves better than this." My hands tightened into fists, but I kept calm. "You need to leave," I said, stepping closer to him. He turned to me then, still smiling. "You don't get it, do you? Eva's not happy. That's why she came to me. She needs someone who actually appreciates her." "Adam, stop," Eva said, her voice shaky. She stood up and took a step forward, but she didn't come between us. "You should be thanking me," Adam went on, ignoring her. "I've shown her what she's been missing." That's when I snapped. I grabbed his arm, my grip tight. I said, "Get out." I growled, my voice low and firm. He tried to pull away, but I twisted his arm hard. A loud crack filled the room, and Adam screamed, stumbling backward. He clutched his hand, his face pale with pain. "Are you crazy?" he yelled, glaring at me. "You ever come here again," I said, my voice sharp and steady, "and you'll regret it even more." Adam didn't say anything else. He backed toward the door, still holding his hand, and shot me one last glare before walking out. The room went silent. I turned to Eva. She was standing there, her eyes wide. "What have you done?" she whispered, tears forming in her eyes. I took a deep breath, my hands still shaking. "No, Eva. What have you done? You brought him into our lives. You lied to me, betrayed me. And now you need to choose." She wiped her face with trembling hands. "I need time," she said softly. I shook my head. "No more time. I've waited long enough. Either you end it with him completely, right now, or we're done." She didn't say anything. She just stood there, looking at the floor, silent. That silence was louder than any answer she could have given me. I felt my heart break all over again. I realized I couldn't keep fighting for someone who wouldn't fight for me. "You've already made your choice," I said quietly. And without another word, I walked to our bedroom and took out a suitcase from the closet. It felt strange packing my things. I grabbed my shirts, pants, and a few other belongings, folding them neatly before putting them in the bag. Eva sat on the bed the whole time, her head in her hands. She didn't try to stop me, and she didn't say anything. I could feel her watching, but I didn't look at her. What was there to say? We both knew this was the end. When I finished packing, I zipped up the suitcase and carried it to the door. I paused for a second and I turned to her one last time. "Goodbye, Eva," I said, my voice calm but firm. She didn't reply. I walked out, closing the door behind me. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was just final. I put my suitcase in the trunk of my car and sat in the driver's seat for a moment, staring at the house. I didn't cry, and I wasn't furious. I just felt empty. But I knew I was doing the right thing. I had to leave to protect what little dignity I had left. The next day, I woke up in a small motel room. I grabbed my phone from the bedside table and opened the email I had sent the night before. Attached to it were the photos I had taken from Eva's phone, pictures of her and Adam together in a hotel room. They were smiling, laughing, and holding each other. There was no way to explain them away. I sent the photos to Eva's company anonymously. They had a tip line for things like this, and I knew the company had strict rules about how employees were supposed to act. If they broke the rules, they needed to face the consequences. By the next morning, the photos had already caused a stir. It was late in the evening when my phone rang. I didn't need to check the screen to know it was Eva. I hesitated for a moment, staring at the buzzing phone. Finally, I picked it up and answered. "Please, don't do this," she said before I could even speak. Her voice was shaky, like she'd been crying for hours. "You've already sent the photos, haven't you? Do you know what you've done to me?" There was no anger in her tone, only desperation. I could picture her on the other end of the line, pacing back and forth, tears streaming down her face. "Eva," I said, keeping my voice steady, "what I did was hold you accountable. You didn't think about the consequences when you were sneaking around. You didn't think about me, our marriage, or the people at work who trusted you." She sniffled loudly. "I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But please, don't make this worse. They're going to fire me, Adam too. I've worked so hard for this career. You know how much it means to me." Her words hung in the air. It was true, Eva had always been ambitious. She talked about her job like it was her life's purpose. But now that same ambition had pulled us apart, leading her to Adam and the choices she made. "Do you even hear yourself?" I asked, my tone harder than I intended. "You're asking me to feel sorry for you? After everything? You didn't care about our life when you were out there with him. Why should I care about your career now?" She let out a shaky breath, and for a moment I thought she was going to hang up. Instead, her voice dropped to a whisper. "I didn't mean for it to happen like this. I never wanted to hurt you." "Well, you did," I said flatly. "And some things you can't undo." I hung up before she could respond, feeling a strange mix of guilt and relief. Guilt because a part of me still cared about her even after everything. Relief because I knew I had to stay strong for myself, even if it meant shutting her out. The fallout didn't take long. Within days of sending the photos to the company's ethics hotline, whispers of an internal investigation began to spread. Eva and Adam were both suspended while the higher-ups looked into their conduct. I heard about it from mutual friends and through posts online. I didn't need to ask Eva for updates. The silence between us said it all. A week later, the official announcement came. Both Eva and Adam were fired for violating the company's code of conduct. Their names were removed from the website. Their projects were reassigned to other teams. It was as if they'd been erased. I watched it all unfold from a distance, feeling a strange sense of satisfaction. Not joy, but something close to closure. They hadn't just betrayed me. They'd betrayed the trust of everyone who worked alongside them. They had to face the consequences, just as I had to face the pain of their betrayal. But as much as I felt vindicated, there was a heaviness that lingered. This wasn't how I wanted things to end. I didn't want to see her broken, begging for another chance at the life she'd thrown away. I didn't want to feel this bitterness gnawing at me, even after justice was served. As I sat alone in my quiet apartment, I realized something. There were no winners in this story. Eva lost her job, Adam lost his respect, and I lost the life I thought we were building together. Sometimes, doing the right thing doesn't feel like a victory. It just feels like the end of something you once believed in. It had been a few weeks since I walked out of the house for the last time. I spent many sleepless nights wondering how everything had gone so wrong. But every time I circled back to the same conclusion: this wasn't my fault. Eva made her choices, and I had to live with the fallout. The day Eva received the divorce papers felt surreal. My lawyer had handled everything, so I didn't need to face her again in person. She sent me a text after she got them. It was short and filled with regret. "I wish things were different. I never meant to hurt you like this." But by then, her words didn't carry the weight they once did. Apologies couldn't undo the damage. The betrayal had carved a space between us that no amount of regret could fill. It hurt. There's no sugarcoating that. Ending a marriage isn't just about signing a piece of paper. It's about letting go of dreams you shared, the future you planned together. It's about walking away from someone you once thought would be by your side forever. But as painful as it was, I knew deep down I was making the right choice. Staying in a broken relationship would have meant losing the little respect I had left for myself. Now looking back, I feel a sense of clarity I didn't have before. I've realized that sometimes walking away isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. It's saying, I deserve better than this, and refusing to settle for less. If you're watching this and you're in a situation like mine, here's what I want you to know: you're not alone. The pain you're feeling right now might make it hard to think straight, but you're stronger than you realize. Don't let someone's betrayal define your worth. You deserve love, respect, and honesty. And if someone can't give you those things, then it's okay to let them go, no matter how much it hurts. Take it one day at a time. Lean on the people who care about you. And most importantly, remember this: healing isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about learning to live again despite it. Your happiness and self-respect are worth fighting for, even if it means starting over. I'm not here to say it's easy. It's not. But I promise you, there's a light at the end of this tunnel. And when you reach it, you'll be glad you didn't give up on yourself.